I'm Taylor Zarzour, and this is the OTP. Coach Callie, welcome to year 2 as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
So tell me, what's the biggest difference between year 1 and year 2 for you?
How long you guys want to sit here? There's a lot of things. The most important thing I think for me is the expectation and the rhythm of what this feels like is not new. Much more comfortable in the process than I was a year ago because I've been through it once now. And once you go through it, everything makes a little bit more sense and you have a better feel for where you need to be and when and why. And so it just operates a little smoother the second time around.
Yeah, and obviously the game is 3 hours, and you have 17 of those in the regular season. All the other time that you spend being in charge of the football team, I know, is extensive, and that gets a lot of getting used to. But let me ask you about on the field. You still are a play caller, and you love being a play caller.
Yes.
But getting used to being in charge of everything that happens during the game, does that take some time?
It does. It does. There's things that as a coordinator, even and I wasn't calling the plays in my previous stop, but you get bits and pieces of the game management part, the player management part. I was upstairs in the box for a long time, which is very detached and removed from the sideline action. And so being down on the field and dealing with the emotions of game day and the emotions of players, good, bad, managing the staff, there's a lot more to it than I maybe just expected. There's just a lot of things that come up, but thankful that I have a really good staff of people around me too. That helps. And then as far as the management of the game with Rob Reeder and Scott Cohen upstairs, they really dynamic at that job and allow me to be able to focus on calling plays, and they help with the clock and on timeouts and situational stuff. So it's sort of always an ongoing discussion throughout the course of a game, but I've gotten much more comfortable in that with that process on game day.
And while it's year 2 for you, it's year 1 for a lot of other people, self included. So you've had to get used to some new faces throughout the building.
Yeah. New players. We've got a couple of new coaches that are new to our staff this year. It's I think that's the NFL every year though. There's always going to be new, and every year is a different year. Your team is always different. There's always going to be some change somewhere, and you hope that change is minimal. But there's always going to be something. There's always going to be new faces somewhere, and that's the NFL. That's what it is, and you learn how to adapt, and you keep pushing forward, and you get to know the people that are new, and you keep trying to build the people that have been there, and it's a yearly process, I would say.
It feels to me, at least, the first few months on the job, that there is a shared vision on how everyone wants to build the Tennessee Titans organization.
That's the key. If you have alignment in your vision from top to bottom, and that's from ownership and Amy all the way down, through me, through the football team and the football staff, between Mike and Chad and Burke and everybody involved in the process. I think we have a very clear vision for what we're looking for, and then a very clear path at which we're going to follow to get there. And we're all on the same page with that. And that's a critical component, I think, in organizational success, is that everyone's aligned in what we expect and what we're trying to do moving forward. And I feel very confident in the plan that's in place, and I feel confident in the people that are doing it, and that's exciting.
I think one of the core principles that about that vision is energy. There seems to be a ton of it permeating throughout this place. Not to say there isn't in other places, but that's certainly something that's noticeable to me, having been in some other NFL places.
Yeah, I think there's we're at a place with our franchise and in our city at a turning point in my mind. We have a chance to do something pretty cool here and build a sustainable winner football team, and be one of the premier organizations in football. And I think that's what we're after, and we're all on the same page with it, with a new stadium coming up. Obviously everyone's excited about a young quarterback. That has a lot to do with it too. But I think the best part about it is everyone here believes in where we're headed and how we're heading there, and that that energy's not fake. There's a real enthusiasm for the work and for where we're going. And that's what gets me up every day. That's what makes me excited to come into work, is that we have a lot of people going in the right directions, and a lot of things happening behind the scenes that maybe the day-to-day common people don't see, the fans of the team don't see every day, but we see it. And I think that's what keeps our focus and our energy at a really high level, because of all the things that are happening on a day-to-day basis.
What did you want to get out of training camp?
A lot. I wanted to get a lot out of training camp. First and foremost, wanted to get put Cam in some really challenging situations because that's what playing quarterback in the NFL is all about. And as many opportunities as we had to make it hard on him, we did. And I think that's accelerated his growth process and made him ready for what's to come. Wanted to get a hard camp. I wanted it to be challenging, that when difficult things happen during the season, we've got something to draw on, that we've been through those types of things. You're always going to have adverse situations in the season, whether it's a play, a game, a week, a month. That's just the way these NFL seasons roll. And as many times as we could be put in uncomfortable places, whether that was our trip, whether it's practicing against another football team, those are all the things that we were hoping to encounter now and not in week 3. And that we've kind of maybe addressed some of the things, that the ebbs and flows of those processes, and really excited about where our team is at. But at the end of the day, wanted a challenging, difficult, hard training camp that would prepare us and harden us for what's to come in the season.
And it sounded like after the game, this most recent game against the Minnesota Vikings, as you addressed the media, that you felt like your team achieved all of this.
Yeah, I feel really good about where we are at coming out of training camp. I think the objectives that we laid out in front of us for that process, we met. Again, that doesn't guarantee anything for us, other than at least the plan was put into action, and I think put us in position to be successful. And that's all we're after, and I feel really good about how we got through camp and the way that our players practiced and the effort that they gave, and what they poured into the process, I think is really important. I think you get what you put in, and our guys have put a lot into this, and I'm excited about where we're at heading into week 1.
You mentioned the trip. It was a 10-day, 9-night trip to Tampa and to Atlanta, and you could see the chemistry on display. A lot of people hanging out in your office, hanging out in the cafeteria. A lot of bonding took place during that. But, of course, that process is not over with yet, as you have this week before you get into game week next week. Can you tell everybody listening what the difference is between this week and next week?
Yeah, this week it's an awkward time frame. It's training camp is essentially over. You obviously cut your roster, so you show up to practice on Tuesday, and there's only 53 guys out there. It's a little bit jarring that first time you go out there with your seasoned team, because in the off season and in training camp, there's been 90 players here. You walk out there, and all of a sudden, half of them are gone.
Yeah,
and it's just a little bit bizarre. It feels weird, but that's what you're taking to battle every week, is that group of guys. And then the next day, the practice squad gets added once they clear waivers. And then you have those 16 more players added to it. But it's still a focus on us. We're still trying to make sure we are getting better at the fundamental things that we need to get better at. It's 3 more opportunities to practice, which we don't take any of those for granted. You only get so many. We do get to have 1 day of pads this week by rule, so we'll have our 1 day of pads on Thursday. And then the players by CBA rule are off for 3 days on the weekend. And then we come back on Monday, and we're 6 days out from the game. And so this 3 days is about fundamental process. It's about still investing in our football team and trying to get better at the things that we need to improve on still. And it's also about getting your team back. And what I mean by that is when you come off a hard, physical, challenging training camp, you need a couple of days that you're trying to get guys' legs back so they're fresh, and that we hit game week feeling as good as we felt. And I think that's the goal. So you manage the practice and the length of time and what you're asking of the guys to still get some work in, but we're still trying. Now we're dialing it back a little bit to be ready to go.
You work on Denver all the time. You work on the opponents all year. Yeah. I realize that, all off season. How much does the team work on Denver this week before next week?
Not a lot, and that's by design. It does get a little bit monotonous when you're talking about the same, because we'll introduce bits and pieces. Sometimes maybe they won't even really know what we're introducing as part of what's going to come up in the game plan, but coaches have certainly been working on it. We're well ahead on that process. But for the players, they're not there yet. Their mind's not on that yet. When they come back after the weekend, they'll be on it. But instead of wasting time trying to put information that they're probably not going to be remembering, we can just wait till the game week starts and just, again, focus 3 days on things we still need to get better at.
This summer, SeatGeek has your ticket to the best live concerts in Nashville at Nissan Stadium. SeatGeek has the best seat, your seat, for an unforgettable summer. From rock royalty to rap superstars, R&B to country, find it all on SeatGeek, the official ticketing partner of Nissan Stadium. Little Caesars is the official pizza partner of your Tennessee Titans. Download the Little Caesars app and get your favorites delivered today. Delivery fees apply. Now, back to the OTP.
We're here with Coach Callahan as the last week of the offseason continues before we get ready for the regular season next week. Tennessee Titans at the Denver Broncos, and you can hear that here on Titans Radio. That will be a 3 p.m. Central start, 2 p.m. Mountain. Don't get me talking about time zones because I'll screw that up. I'll leave that to you, Callie. You mentioned the rookies quite a bit in just a minute ago. Overall, what'd you think of the rookies in training camp?
Very pleased with their growth. It's always a process with young players. There's ups and downs, there's ebbs and flows. But the group of guys that we have in that rookie class, all the traits that we hope to see from a makeup standpoint, a character standpoint, all showed up. Really mature kids, really love playing football. Tough, mentally tough. They grinded through it pretty good. On top of the fact that we think they're going to be good football players, but we're going to have a bunch of young players contributing to our football team this year. And the growth in training camp was a huge part of that process. I think playing against two different teams over the course of camp was really beneficial for them to see something else, other teams' corners, other teams' schemes. So the first time they see something new isn't week one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm a big believer in those joint practices too as part of the developmental process, because you get to see something different, and you don't want the first time that they see another color jersey or another technique or something that you play the same defense every week. You get used to it, and you get used to the players, and you know them, and you know what they're good at and what they're not. And then all of a sudden you get thrown into an environment where you don't know anything about the players across from you. And as a rookie, that's a good experience to have before you actually have to go do it. But they've really shown a tremendous amount of growth, but the character of what makes them the guys that we targeted all showed up, and I think that's what's allowed them to improve at the rate they've improved at.
I feel like you could have what you just said collectively. You could have said specifically about Cam Ward.
Yeah.
You could have said all of what you just said specifically about Cam Ward. Is this rare for a rookie quarterback? You've been around a few.
Yeah, he has some unique personality traits, and that's what makes him a number one pick. You know, those are the things that are not just found out there in the world regularly. That's why he got selected where he did, and why we felt so confident in that selection. But that's what Cam is. Cam is always learning. He's always growing. He's got that mindset. He's not stuck in his ways by any means, and he understands that there's a lot of things to learn about playing quarterback in the NFL. Both as a face of a franchise, as a quarterback, as a player, and as a teammate. Those things all are kind of lumped on the quarterback, and you have to learn how to navigate all that stuff. And he's been fantastic when it comes to that. He understands it. The best way I can describe it is he gets it. He gets it. It makes sense to him. And he's a phenomenal teammate on top of it, which I think is really what gives our team a lot of excitement and energy, is that they see a guy that they believe in.
Lot of passion from that guy out there. And one thing hopefully you don't have to worry about anymore is telling him why he has to come out of the game each week. Yeah. Because he does not want to come out of the game.
No, he doesn't. He was always, every game in the preseason, he's always asking for more series, and you know, I get it. That's the competitor in him. But yeah, he won't be coming out of any games anytime soon. So they're all there for him now. He's got 17 cracks at it, and he won't be leaving the field. So it's time to go.
Coach, we're knocking on wood right now on this table here in this room, but overall team health, it feels like you had a really good training camp from that standpoint.
Yeah, a lot of that's there's luck involved in that, clearly. But I do really believe in our process. I believe in how we structure practice, how we structure the practice week, how we get maximum work out of the players while still making sure we're doing the right things when it comes to recovery. I think our emphasis on the hydrate, we do all the hydration testing, and the hydration process, I think, is critical to avoid soft tissue injuries. The way we structure the ramp up into training camp, I think, is critically important. So we're never loading too much too fast. And then when we work, and that cadence and that rhythm, I think, hardens our football team to some of the things that you can incur during camp. And the main ones, you just try to avoid the avoidables, the soft tissue injuries, the things that are generally based on practice scheduling, habits, nutrition, hydration, rest, and recovery, and you try to do a great job of managing that. And then our strength staff, they do a really good job of making sure we track everything. Every bit of data you can track, we track. And when it comes to max accelerations and max decelerations and high-speed running and volume loads, all that stuff is taken into account. And I think our guys do a really good job of understanding that process. And like you said, thankfully it's worked pretty good for us. Over the last 2 years, really, our training camp injury rate's been pretty low. And some of that's also just good old-fashioned luck.
I know you should be very proud of the conditioning of the team, and that has a lot to do with it. I get it. There's so much interest in the rookies. We've talked about it, all the young guys. But the veterans, specifically, people have said, Taylor, what are you seeing? Tony Pollard, to me, looks like he's in the best version of himself. Calvin Ridley looks like he's the best version of himself. Jeff Simmons looks like he's a more versatile player this year. So as much as we talk about the young guys, the veterans look really good too.
Yeah, those are the guys that we're counting on the most. The guys that have played football, some for us and a lot of games for us, and then some of the guys that we've added. Calvin and Tony are focal points of our offense. Tony's a 1,000-yard rusher. Calvin's a 1,000-yard receiver. Those aren't numbers that you just walk out and produce. I mean, those are two really productive NFL players, and we're counting on both those guys to be even better than they were a year ago. I think the veteran players in our offensive line are going to be critical factors. The JC's transformation move to the right tackle and having Dan Moore and getting Lloyd Cushenberry back and Pete Skoronsky's development. And then you got the veteran of all veterans in Kevin Zeitler. I mean, he's 35 years old playing guard. I don't know if anybody understands how hard that is, but that's remarkable and at the level he can play it at. So these veteran players are going to be critical factors in our success this year. And then add a guy like Cody Barton on defense and you have Hook back there, and now you got Xavier Woods and Quandre Diggs, who we value quite a bit, and those guys are all going to be that's going to be the core of what makes our team successful is the performance of those veteran players, and those guys have all had really good camps, and I'm really excited about where they're at. So now we got to go out and do it.
Hey Titans fans, with a Kroger Boost membership, you'll score big with double fuel points, free delivery, and lots more. Go to Kroger.com/boost for details. Kroger, the official grocer of the Tennessee Titans. Tighten up. Home is the forefront of all we do. It's why we're so committed to caring for the places and spaces in which we work and live. Ashley, the official furniture provider of the Tennessee Titans. Now, back to the OTP.
Coach, you referenced earlier about just how it's a shock to the system to have a different amount of people out there and so many faces that you don't have anymore that you've had all of the offseason. Is there anything harder in the National Football League than trimming a roster from 91 guys to 53?
No, it's the worst experience as from this perspective for the job, is especially guys that have been with us from April, through now. A lot of investment, a lot of development, a lot of relationships built. I mean, These are guys that I very much care about, that we've invested time and energy and effort into coaching and getting better. And to tell them that they're not going to be a part of the team moving forward is not enjoyable at all. There's no fun in that. And you're telling guys, some of them too, that this is. You hope that a lot of these guys catch on elsewhere and continue to be able to play. And the reality is sometimes that's not it. They don't catch on anywhere, or maybe they get one or two more shots and that's it. And you never take much solace in being the person that's telling a guy that their dream is not going to be realized. These guys work their entire lives to get to this point. And to make a 53-man roster in the NFL is incredibly difficult. There's only so many spots, and it's really, really hard to crack those spots, especially for the undrafted free agents and some of the young players. It's challenging, and it's not fun to deliver that news that that's not going to be here, and that's not much fun. So I do appreciate what those guys have given us. I mean, they're a huge part of building our team. they just don't get to see the actual, the fruition of all the building that we've done, but they're an integral part of it, and I appreciate all those guys' work.
Well said. Before we let you go, is there anything that you're able to do to get away from all of this? I mean, there is a lot of pressure and time that comes with all of this. I mean, is your wife, does she have you watching a show? Is there anything that you can disconnect from football with?
I've gotten better at that over the last year, of being able to, when it's time to step away, even if it's for just an evening, to be able to do that. Usually it's involving something with doing something with my kids or go watch one of their games. They're playing soccer and baseball at the moment, and or if it's just taking my wife out to dinner where we can just step back from the from the grind of it all. But see, the problem is I don't ever really stop. That's kind of probably why I'm where I'm at, but we're watching the Dallas Cowboys documentary. So I go home and
we are too, by the way.
And I go home and I watch more football. And
it's so funny you said that because my wife said we have to have a show we're watching, and she picked that. Yeah. And I'm like, really? This is what we're gonna do?
It's fantastic.
It really is.
It's some of that stuff. That was like really early on in my like football fandom. I was probably 92. I mean, I'm 7, 8, 9.
Yeah,
I was just starting to get into football, and so I know the Aikmans and Irvings, and I watch those games, I watch those Super Bowls, but just some of the backstory, was how they built that was fascinating. So I've very much enjoyed watching that so far. If you haven't watched it, watch it. It's good.
There you go. On Netflix, by the way. There's the shout out. Hey, you're trying to build a championship team too, so I'm sure it's inspiring to watch that.
There's always lessons to be taken from all sports and all levels, the teams that build championship teams. There's always something you can glean from it. So I go home to relax and watch more football.
Coach Callahan, I'm always grateful for your time. I'm looking forward to doing this every week with you.
This will be great. Can't wait.
For Brian Callahan, I'm Taylor Zarzour. This has been the OTP.